today for the Women Leading with Influence, Shaping Communities, Organizations, and Education. I have with me today Lubna Khan, who is principal at Brookhouse College, Riyadh. Dr. Riham Al-Shami, head of senior school at Beach Hall School, Riyadh. Ashlina Davidson, director of member relations and partnerships. And Dr. Faiza Mubian, who's head of inclusion at Beach Hall School, Riyadh.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today with me. It's a pleasure to welcome such an inspiring group of leaders for this conversation. So to mark International Women's Day, I wanted to bring leaders from different sectors, so it's education, inclusion, and community development, for us to reflect on our leadership journeys, challenges, and the way women shape the communities. Instead of having, like, I think, an open panel, this was going to be a round table. So we're just going to share, our perspectives, how you have become the leader, and I think it will be good for us to connect and explore our journeys as well. For Brookhouse College Riyadh, for us to build the community is very important. So this roundtable actually will be first in our series, where we want to bring people from across Riyadh, maybe actually in KSA as well, to kind of share ideas, perspectives, and hopefully this will inspire someone as well. So let's start with the first question. The simple one, it's what inspired your leadership journey?
Okay, I'll begin.
Okay.
I come from a family of very, very strong women, my mother being particularly strong, and many of the women are actually in education, owners of schools, but have an educational background as well as being landowners and so forth. So I think the inspiration really came from that. I had no particular desire to come into education as a young person, but by default entered it, and then it was a case of, right, I need to get to where I need to get to fairly quickly so that you can facilitate change. And that was kind of where it started. So it's having that background of particularly strong women who are themselves inspirational. And it doesn't mean to say they were necessarily career women. My mother was a housewife, but had an incredible social network and was very, very well respected in her community, and people would often come to her for advice and other things. So I think that's where, if I'm thinking really, where did all of this begin? That's really where it was.
Yeah, I think I will second Ms. Lubna that it's about the belief you have because you see great examples around you. And for me, my mom was a school leader, so it was very close, yeah. I started in a different career and then I moved to education, and I can say since I started being in the education sector, I fell in love with the education, really being a teacher and then in different leadership roles. And the way you see how we impact the people around us, it starts with the students, young teachers, how can you support them, how you can create a different environment, and this is your role as a leader. So inspiration starts by a belief, and this belief is already inspired by the women leaders around you.
That's a very powerful message.
Yeah, my experience or my inspiration is very similar to Lubna. It's been my mom and my aunt. My mom was a homemaker for a very long time and sort of got into the professional career path quite late. But as soon as she got in, you could see that spark in her eyes, and she was, there was joy in everything she did. And I think just seeing that, it made such a wonderful impact on her. That's not to say she did enjoy being a mom, but I could see a different side to her, which I think all of us as her kids enjoyed. And my aunt as well, her sister, we saw her work and enjoy her work. And so for us, it's sort of very naturally, it evolved into, working hard and sort of continually developing our skills and things like that. That's sort of my inspiration, at least.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we share the same strand in that regard, that we probably belong to strong women families. But in addition to that, I also see the pathway that was set from the very beginning. I still joyfully reiterate and narrate the story in my own circle, is that I was 2.5 years old and sitting with my grandfather, and he was reading a newspaper. And it was in a local language. And I've told you the story before. And that said that the city, the main hospital, has found the cure to cancer. And I was 2.5 years old, and there was a stencil pen and something, and I just put the paper on top, and I kind of drew it. Never knew what am I writing. And my grandfather called my mother, who was like a young girl at that time, and he said that, I believe she's school ready. I was 2.5, and there was a little small nursery called Little Scholars, and I was sent there, and I started. And today I'm 45, and I've never left school. Since that day, I'm always in the corridors, different countries, different places. The minute I enter into any kind of school and I find that hum, that sound, those corridors, I feel I'm in my place. And how the leadership aspect came into place was that I was working as a remedial teacher 15 years ago. And a lot of times I wanted to do a lot of things for especially children who are with additional needs, and I was not able to because of a lot of approvals and this and that I needed to get through. And if I'm like, my goodness, I need to do something that I just bypass all of these approvals and I do something for this child, because the time is the very precious element in this entire factor.
Yeah.
And I started reading about leadership. I started reading what I can do. And I did my master's in international education leadership because I felt like book will be the most important thing to carry me towards that journey. And I completed my degree. I went on, applied for an inclusion position and got one and learned a lot. And then 4 years ago, I was hired here. And I believe that decision-making was there, but I just needed the right leadership position to make sure that I do the right thing for the right voice for these children, to advocate for these children who are under my care. And we enjoy that now.
Yeah, really, yeah.
So it's such a great story, and what I think I like about the fact is that it actually starts from home. As you can see, you look at your mom, you look at your aunts, sisters, and just how they are navigating this personal life, and then home, the children, and then they're also working and becoming these successful ladies. But when did you have that conscious thought when you realized actually I want to be a leader, not just just working, but actually mentor someone perhaps, or inspire someone, or lead the team? Because I think for me it's not that easy. It's a great opportunity, but it comes with its own challenges. So I'm just wondering, how did you when did you have that idea? Because okay, I can do this and I want to do this.
I think it starts very young, actually. If I think about London, when I was a child growing up, it was very different to what it is now. And we literally played on the streets from morning till sun up till sundown. Our parents never knew where we were. And we were always on the streets with the kids. And I used to lead about 20 kids. They always did what I said. Otherwise, there was no game. So I think it starts kind of early, maybe. And then it's interesting how you evolve, as you say, as a person. So as a very young person, I was very bossy, eldest in the family, so on, as my siblings tell me regularly. And went on to high school and so on. But in high school, I was absolutely the opposite. Very quiet, very introvert. And then I realized if you want to actually get somewhere, you need to have a voice, you need to speak up, and you need to push yourself.
Yeah.
So one of my first experiences it wasn't leadership per se, but I'd become a Senko. And I was asked to speak at a conference in University College London. And I left my notes at home. I thought, oh great. So the room was full of hundreds of specialists, from all over the country, and I didn't have my notes, and I couldn't, and you go into a panic, couldn't remember anything. Thought, I can't run now, I'm here, so let's just go with the flow. I think what happens then is you speak from the heart. Because there's no other way. You just speak whatever is there, whatever you remember, but it comes from the heart. And it seems it is more genuine. And actually it was probably the best speech I've ever made. And since then I never have notes. It's kind of, and as a head teacher, if somebody says to you stand up and speak, you just do. It's one of those things. It comes naturally. So I think somehow we're probably born with it. Sometimes it's nature, sometimes it's a bit of nurture, but I think there's something innate in you that just keeps driving you to get to that place where, like you said, you want all the barriers gone. You
Yeah.
have a vision, you see what you want to do, you want to make that change, and you can't be having these other people who are just blocking you. And I think that's it, that's the journey.
I think this takes us to the common question. Are leadership qualities or skills, are we born with it or we can acquire it? And I think it's both together, because your personality will make a difference. Yeah, some personality, they are in their nature, they are strong, they are brave, they are decision makers, and they can impact people around them in a positive way. It's very important. So yes, it starts with you when you are young. Some people around you, you know that, as you said, you are the one who others can follow, but they follow in a good way, that they believe that you can guide them to the destination. So it starts from this, and of course, one of the most important thing is the lifelong learning process. Yeah, we learn from life, in social and emotional, from the social and emotional aspect, but also you need the theory, because how much experience you have, but the theory will enrich your experience with the deep insight, that why are we doing this? What is the theory behind this? So you start to connect the dots in a different, thoughtful way. So, and then you see the example, you start your work, and then your first leadership position. I remember the first year was not the, it was maybe the most challenging year, but after this, you have this trust, you have this confidence in yourself, and again, it comes from the people around you who support you, who push you to continue, because especially in your first years in your career, of course, you will have many challenges, but the people around you are the key. They support you, and you see the impact around you. When you see, for example, a student inspired by you, and they come and tell you that because of you we need to do this and this, or you have a teacher or any staff member around you, and they say, you know, that you inspire us to do this, and it comes on different aspects. So it's, yes, something you are born with, something from the people around you, and you believe in yourself again. Yeah,
that, I mean,
yeah,
this
you believe in yourself, and because you believe that I can do it, you know. Yeah,
definitely people are the key. And I think as you being the head of senior school,
Yeah.
you always interact with the children in secondary,
Yeah.
kind of provision, you know, so I think you kind of can see the spark when they
Yes.
start to become a little bit different, or
Yeah.
they're thinking about the university degrees, what they
Yeah,
would like to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
So now you're this key person
Yeah.
who actually impacts them as well.
Yeah, especially sometimes, for example, I came to Saudi Arabia, as I told you, 9 years ago. And for example, a message in my inbox that, hi, Ms. Riham, they are my students in Egypt. And hi, Ms. Riham, I just wanted to tell you that now I'm a doctor because of you. And I told them very long time ago, I was teaching science at the time. Oh my God, when I saw this message, it makes a great difference with me. For example, another student studies in Germany now, and she texted me and she said, I got your phone number from someone and this from another one, and because you inspired me and you believed in me, and I wanted to tell you that today I achieved my dream. This is something really, you know, it's powerful, and this is what makes us continue, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you with especially on the lifelong learning bit. I think
Yeah.
that's what gives us confidence. I think as women, you know, and I see it a lot, especially in the corporate world, a lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome, where we just think we're not good enough. We probably have everything it takes, but there's something in us where we lack the confidence.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was about sort of overcoming that bit and realizing, no, you know what, I've got the theory side, I've done all this learning, I've equipped myself with this, I am ready. So convincing myself of it, and then embracing the mistakes.
Yeah.
Because I think we're also very hard on ourselves, right? We think that becoming a leader means that we have to do it perfectly. And that is not, you know, there's a lot of, I think in today's time, you know, people appreciate an authentic leader, a leader who's not afraid to show their mistakes or their vulnerable side. And I think understanding that, embracing it, and then living that has helped me in you know, sort of honing my leadership skills. and just connecting with people, talking to them, and hearing their feedback. I think sometimes it's good to find out, what am I doing that could be improved, or what am I doing that's right, that's resonated with you, and I do more of that and less of what, say, doesn't quite work. Just having that humility to always evolve, that sort of helps me.
Very true. For me, well, I'm listening to all of you and I'm like, wow, okay, what are my thoughts on that? Because I'm on a privileged seat listening and then making my informed concept about it. For me, leadership is not in terms of its ladder. For me, anybody in any position can be a leader in that craft, in that situation. For me, also, it's important that the empowerment that you give, like how Lubna said that she was a young girl and she was, 20 other girls or students are with her and she's leading them in the entire time. This is the power of taking that decision. Nobody has given her that title. You've just taken it because you can do it. So you don't really need to be a director of inclusion or director of learning and teaching. You can be in a simple setting, but you can be leader in that craft. So that is where really it matters. And how it came to me that I can do it is when I really felt that yes, I'm equipped with the foundation status of it, and I'm taking the lead. I will do it. And then there is no stopping. People who work with me, they see me that if I don't know it, I would not take the lead. I'm very happy sitting in the crowd and learning about it, and if I know it, then I'm unstoppable. Then I will take it. And I will take more people with me that, no, we're doing it. There is no compromise on that because we need to do it no matter what. And so it's a matter of where you see yourself and how you see yourself. It's not one area, it's different phases and in one day in itself.
Yeah, Faiza reminded me because currently I'm doing my MPQH and we focus now on ethical leadership. Wow. Yeah, and this is the foundation for leadership, and one of the important ethical leadership qualities is self-awareness. Yes. So as you mentioned, you are aware of yourself, you are aware of your abilities, and you are aware of the team around you. This is very important when it comes to leadership. And also you mentioned being authentic. Yes, transparency. Being a transparent leader and respect everyone around you, it really affects the environment in a totally different way, especially when they feel they are heard, they are valued, and not only staff, also students. Because as leaders, especially in the schools, we deal with many people around us, different ages and different mindsets, especially in international schools. So creating this culture, it really needs a lot of efforts and a lot of belief that what are the qualities needed, what do we need to create this culture. And I think that being self-aware and aware of your team, being a transparent, authentic leader, really, they will believe you, and then you can go at the top. Yeah, you can lead. Yeah.
I think I just go on something that you said about humility. I think there is perhaps historically a belief that leaders are loud, arrogant,
absolutely,
very manly.
Absolutely.
And I think that's absolutely not the case.
No.
And as women, you don't have to be loud and obnoxious and manly at all.
At all.
And I think this attribute of humility, the ability to actually listen, active listening. And I think, I'm just thinking about myself now, because when people are talking and saying things, there's an idea already forming and you want to interrupt and you want to say, actually, this is what I want to say. But actually being able to hold back, letting people say what they need to say and actually listening to it before you speak, I think that is something that you learn over time. And I know because my mom was quite loud and she would take over the conversation everywhere, and I felt sometimes that's great, but actually it's quite disempowering for those around you. So really thinking about what is it that makes you different from everybody else. You're still a leader, you still facilitate, you take people with you and all the things you said, but actually you are humble and that you don't feel that there is this hierarchy and so on. although there is a silent hierarchy.
Yeah.
But that people around you do feel that, you know what, you treat them as equals.
Yeah.
Whether they're 2 years old or whether
Yeah.
they're 150 or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think that element, I think, is absolutely essential in any leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes there's more strength in staying quiet and absorbing versus, sort of responding or reacting to everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we learn as we get older. When I was younger, I thought the most charismatic leader was the one who spoke the best and was so eloquent. And, I was like, wow,
You can
right?
spot them in the
yeah,
room. They're
the
always,
persona.
draw attention.
And then as I've grown, older or I've had more experience, I've realized that I really appreciate leaders who are calm and who sort of just take their time and absorb everything. There are two sides to everything, but
No,
Very true.
I mean, we are the faces of leadership. I mean, I think it's fascinating. I mean, the world is changing, we are changing.
Yeah.
But then what we bring to the table is completely different.
Yeah.
And so we talked about the positive things, the good things, the believing in yourself, which is great. But what about the challenges? I think leader, of course, they got lots of challenges. As you said, Dr. Reham, that something always happens every day. It's like you cannot predict it, it's just life. But as a woman, it's still, can be different in the boardrooms, in the meetings. How do you kind of support yourself? As you said, I think the humility was a very good point, like supporting yourself, but also understanding that, of course, sometimes you have to say no. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to, listen and observe as well. Yeah. So how do you? I'm interested to hear how do you manage that?
Okay, as the women leaders, I think one of the challenges we have, that the first impression that is taken, that women are emotional. And yes, we are emotional, but as leaders, we are also risk takers. We are decision makers. And as we mentioned, we listen actively. And this what makes the difference in your decision. If your decision just because you are affected emotionally, it's not the best decision taken. If you are an active listener, if you are a lifelong learner, if you have this broad experience that you are aware of the situation, you are aware of the culture, you are aware of the people, if you add all of them together, I think at that time the equation for the decision making will be different. And this is one of the main challenges. Yes, we are empathetic. There is difference between being or having empathy towards your team, towards the people around you, and at the same time, as leaders, we believe in also having the system in place, having procedures in place, and this is why procedures and policies, it's really important for any place. It's not just depending on what we like, what we don't like. No, it's about a system in place and our role to implement this system and even help to support this system to continue. And of course, one of the main challenges that we had a conversation before we start, and we all have it, is being having a full-time job and being a mom, having your children, and as you mentioned, that we always seek perfectionism, and it's very hard to have everything perfect at the same time, and here comes the challenge, or you try to do your best, but as we always say, we do our best. Maybe we are not the best, but we do our best, and we are proud of what we are doing. Yeah.
I think riding on what you just said, as women, our biological clock and our career clock are constantly at a conflict, at least I think in the first, first 15 years or so, because we're trying to prove ourselves, we're trying to grow. At the same time, that also coincides with the fact that you probably would have just had kids and they need your attention as well. I think the balancing act, for women, say, compared to men, is a lot more delicate. And I remember early on in my career, even saying something, as simple as, "Oh, my kid is sick. I would like to take some time off." Perhaps my superiors or my bosses didn't think of it as, look at her, she's prioritizing that. But I would have that guilt. I would have this, oh my gosh, the baggage of I'm leaving work for my child or that sort of thing. So I think for me, in terms of, challenges, that's been one of the biggest challenges I've had. just balance that balancing act. And also just constantly trying to prove myself. I feel like as women, we feel the need to, we are as good as our counterparts, right? I feel the need to do that has become lesser and lesser over the years, and I'm more comfortable with who I am. But that was a struggle for a long time.
I didn't find that, I have to say. And I think I'm not a feminist or anything by any means. I do believe in equality, but I do think men and women are different, and they come with different strengths, and they bring different things to the table. And I think when you complement each other, it's amazing. And I think you cannot be a strong individual unless you have that support or that understanding with your other half. Otherwise, it just becomes a battle. So I guess I'm lucky. I never had to really face that. We were both very supportive of each other and both managed our careers and managed our children equally. So, and again, I go back to my mother, who put her children before anybody on the planet and would fiercely, defend them in any situation. And I guess I'm the same. And so that for me was never an issue, because the children always came first, regardless of career, which. And actually, a lot of my actual career started after I was married and had my kids. So I went back into education to do a master's and so on, and then went into education. So they came first when they were at school. Then I thought, okay, time for a career now. But like you, I was continually studying part-time or whatever. So that kind of journey just kind of happened. It wasn't necessarily planned, but I thought these are my priority, and once they're settled, then everything else comes after that. But it did, and it happened, and I think. I agree with you that there are challenges, and I absolutely agree with you that you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a daughter and sister, and you have your in-laws and all the rest of it. But it's constantly juggling all of that. And I think if you, as an individual, are a strong individual, but you have the humility, you have the empathy, and all the things that women are well known for, which I think are our strengths, you can actually make a pretty good job of it, of all of it. And it doesn't have to be perfect as much as we might want it to be. So I think some of it might be potluck, but you were talking about education. I can't remember anything I did in my master's, to be honest, and I think it was very valuable at the time, because at the time you're in the thing of it, you're learning about all these new theories and all of this, and it's great and it's wonderful. But actually, the day you step into work, I don't know if any of it maybe subconsciously
but it's
came
here.
into being.
It's
there
here.
somewhere,
the mindset,
I guess.
the mindset is here.
Once the job starts, that reality is very different from the textbook. And I think that's where the learning really begins.
True, that's where the implementation starts. For me, I would also be on the same side of the world, where I did not face that many challenges when it came to like proving myself or, juggling. When I'm not there, my husband would be there, and if he's not there, I would be there. Or sometimes my mother would step in. Like there was always some form of support, because it's kind of like very organically understood that we all do our part, and whatever makes us feel better as a human, as a woman, or as a man, we do that no matter what. Either it's being a homemaker, or a teacher, or an educator, or a philanthropist, anything that you want to do and it makes you feel happy. The support system, how much one can do is there. So I didn't feel those challenges. However, at workplace, what I feel is that for me, culture is extremely important. Culture of the organization, and especially in my role, the culture of acceptance is extremely important. Advocacy of the students with additional needs is extremely important. So as a woman, I would say, as a woman hat, I need to keep that in it, my own self, very intact every single morning, that I don't lose that track. Because the bigger the organization becomes, the more nuances to that cultural circle comes into play. And I need to stay focused, because I feel that I am accountable to those 140 children that come under my duty of care every single morning, that even if single person comes to me and says something which is different to what my cultural understanding and vision and mission is, I need to give it a rebuttal. And that is where my challenge happens. And that rebuttal has to be respectful, rational, emotional, caring, empathetic, All of those elements, I need to keep that balance. And to the element of masters, yes, I do agree with you. My first masters was 20 years ago, and that is somewhere far gone. That's where I needed to do another one, where I wanted to have the richness of the current status, where you really go into the latest transformation of the educational landscape. I wanted to equip myself with that I don't want to sit in a room where yes, I have experience or I have passion and vision, but I don't have the real current book knowledge. So that's where, so I do agree with that part, but then I did the second one just to brush up my skills and be more knowledgeable.
Yeah, and maybe we ask ourselves a question. Do we have to remember everything we study? But I believe it shapes our mindset.
I think subconsciously
Even,
it's there.
And our insights, when we read, we see things in a different way. And of course, automatically you connected with your experience, you connected with the context around you, and you started to connect the dots, and this what will stay here. So it's there, but it shaped your mind already.
But Dr. Ham, it also comes to a point where, like today in the morning, we were having a discussion, and so this is that time of year where you all have to sit down and do the budgets. Budgets always, naturally, in our previous settings, in corporate sector, it was always landed to a finance department. And usually in the finance department, it's men working. It's like a very natural shift. If you see a finance woman sitting, I love that woman sitting in that office. Like, really? You're the number lady? Awesome. Like, internally, I admire that woman who has got that number game. So when I was doing my master's 3 years ago, I picked budgeting as part of my module. And I told my husband that you have to help me because I love numbers, but I'm not good at them. And he said, no, I'll help you. So we sat down and he went through the whole theory and how to create a budget plan and how. And now when I'm sitting in this position, every 3 months, we need to sit on those Excel sheets and it gives me immense power.
Yeah.
That, I've learned that art and now nobody, man or woman, can challenge me on my numbers because I've learned the book from there.
But you were empowered again by the
support, yes, 100%, yes. So these are little moments.
That we still have these sectors or industries which are labeled clearly they're female-dominated or male-dominated, for instance.
Yeah,
it's
I was
still,
thinking about that because all three of you sort of echoed, and I was thinking about the fact that education is quite a female-dominated industry or sector, which is I think maybe perhaps the other sectors could learn some leadership styles or what has worked within that, and emulate that, right? Because the other side, it's either quite balanced or it could be quite male-dominated. I don't think you have, a sector which is as female-dominated perhaps as
But there's another angle to that also. My husband, his business is fashion accessories. So when I got married to him 21 years ago and we started to get to know what is his work and all, and like the entire shipments are coming with fashion accessories and all of that. And I was like, all right, I'll help you with paperwork and what not. But being a woman, I never felt interest in that. I said, no, this is not my area. I don't want to sell jewelry. You do that. So it's kind of that what sets well. Yeah. So even the dominance part could also be from what you feel comfortable at.
Yeah.
It's just like an addition layer to that.
Yeah. When you mentioned the spark.
Yes.
It what makes this spark, shine, and that you are happy to do this every day. Yeah. And you have the belief that, yes, I will do an amazing job in this part at that time. So yes, it's about the spark, Yeah,
absolutely. Ashlina, your work connects organizations, businesses, and communities. So in your opinion, why are strong partnerships so important when it comes to building impactful communities?
Look, I think it's about harnessing the best from each other. It's, it's not just at work. I think in life, everyone has something to offer. It's whether we just go out and seek it and try and see how we could work together. It's all about building those sort of relationships and doing what's best for the community as a whole. Whether it's for my kids and, I see how, we could link different things together and create this wonderful ecosystem for them, or at work, or from a social point of view, right? It's lovely when you find a group of people that are so diverse and each person brings something different to the table, but together, I mean, it's such a gorgeous environment that we've created. I think that's the whole beauty of partnerships, especially in a country like Saudi where, you know, it's a growing atmosphere, it's a growing landscape, it's so diverse with all sorts of people, all sorts of experiences and schools of thought coming together, I think. And I love hearing perspectives from women. I think there is so much, there are different angles that women bring to the table, and there's so much texture in the way they speak about something or they relate or narrate something. And I love hearing women, you know, share their experiences. So yeah, it's all about just fostering that collaborative space and spirit, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah. You know, now I can see that if you enter Faz's office, you will find this amazing puzzle. Yeah, in the first year, it was one of our, you know, it's very near to our heart activity with our students, and it was an activity to show the impact of inclusion or the meaning of inclusion, and the activity was based on puzzles, and each group, they prepared their own puzzle, and at the end we added them in an amazing a picture, yes, and it's in Faiza's office till now. This is what we mean, yes. Together, we are like a puzzle. Every one of us is different. Every one of us has their own, we have our own beauty, if we can say, our own skills. Even as women leaders, we are different. We have different perspectives, but we complete each other's. So at the end, yes, partnerships are really crucial and important, because even it gives you an insight that the other people around you, how do they think? What are their perspectives? How can we learn from each other's? And this is also impactful for our students. When they see this, they know that in the future, they will not be alone. They need to collaborate with the people around them, because this is how the world works, you know? Yeah.
No, absolutely, yes. And what I just noticed is that we're all experts actually here in Saudi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're not just, you know, women in leadership. Actually, I think we're in this. Our setting is very international, which I think also can be a challenge if you, like from one side, but on the other hand, on another side, it could also be powerful as well.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not easy, but I think it has its own advantages, I would say, yes. And also considering the fact, as you said, you know, Saudi Arabia, it's growing, and I feel like we're growing with the country, which I think not many people can find themselves in this position.
I think partnerships also bring that kind of an understanding. It's that where you feel that you are comfortable enough to partner. You know, like for example, this is a very classic example of, at the moment, of collaboration and partnership. That's what we're doing right now. Like 4 women from different, you know, backgrounds, different, you know, areas, yet sharing the knowledge, sharing best practices, sharing experiences with each other is what is important. And it goes then to every aspect of whether it's corporate or education or anything, that you need to create that puzzle to come together to make the bigger picture, you know. And then again, as a school leader, I would say that for our students, it's really important to have that resonance of the real market, of the real place. School is a safe place, you know, where you're allowed to make mistakes, where you're allowed to do silly things, but you're also allowed to do good things, or given the opportunity to do what you should be doing. However, the real world is way bigger and way real. So I think that partnerships are really important, that where children are made ready to go. Sometimes they come to you and children get that feel, and sometimes we send them to that part of the world and get to know what exactly is happening. So that's my point of view on that.
I think one of the biggest challenges we're having now with the advent of AI and all of that, and you as particularly in inclusion, maybe seeing this, is that children are less able to socialize than perhaps we were when we were children. So if I think, again, going back to childhood, we were street kids, and everybody's door was open and we were in and out of each other's houses. So on our 2-3 roads that were very close, there were about 20 children that mixed every day. We fell out, we made up, all the rest of it. But I'm finding now, often you find, if you look in a playground, you'll find dotted around the edges, children on the periphery who just can't make friends. So they'll either come in and hit somebody or push somebody
Yeah.
and then upset everybody else, and then you find those children will just gravitate away from them.
Yeah.
So that is becoming an increasing problem with the
Yeah.
advent of sitting there on your thumbs
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
And how do we meet that challenge? Now, as women, sometimes we're described as the glue that binds the family or
Yeah.
the wider family or the community. So I think that's something we really need to hold on to. And as educators, to be aware that we are dealing with the next generation of children who are losing those skills that we were once upon
Yeah.
a time born with.
Yeah.
As human beings, we are social animals. We do look to belong to somebody or something, some group. And if we don't have that, sometimes as children, you can't express what it is that I'm lonely. You know, I need friends,
Yeah.
I need people that I can, attach myself to
Yeah.
and be part of that group. So I think that is going to become very, very important in the future. And I think not only women, but men too, those who are not, will
Yeah.
need to be aware that actually this is going to be one of our biggest challenges as society.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
No, such an important point. I think before we close, I'd like to ask each of you to reflect on this question. So what is one message you would like to share with young women who aspire to lead in the future, in any sector?
Aspire to leadership,
Yeah.
be an opportunist. Don't wait. If something appears, grab it, take it. It doesn't matter if it's not right for you, but don't let it pass you by.
For me, be strong, be resilient, and be a risk taker. Yeah.
I think for me, if you don't know something, go and learn it. Empower yourself with that knowledge, because then confidence comes in, and then you'll be able to thrive and really reach your fullest through that.
True, and believe in yourself, and keep thriving, keep learning, and never let anybody underestimate you and define you.
That's very important. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this inspiring conversation. I'm very happy that we had this first round table with you, ladies.
Can we have a statement from you, actually?
A statement from me? Thank you for asking that. Gosh, would a young woman aspire to lead? Don't doubt yourself. I would say that. Yeah, I think don't doubt yourself. Life is short, so do what makes you happy as well. Try different things. If leadership is something that you're interested, go pursue it. But if it's not, I think that's also okay as well. Yeah, it's just, I think it's not for everyone, and it's fine as well.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree.